I'm just going to put it really simple for you. You really only need to worry about chest voice and falsetto. Okay, so what's chest voice and what's falsetto in case you don't know? Well, chest voice is the voice that I'm speaking in right now. It can be very soft like this, but it can be very loud like this, like I'm yelling at you. So chest voice is basically your speaking voice, your yelling voice, your calling out voice. You're like, hey, what's going on? That's my chest voice. This is my chest voice. Basically, chest voice is your real voice, the voice that you use, your real voice, your full voice. Falsetto is this voice that you use when you're speaking to a small animal. Hey, when you imitate Mickey Mouse, oh, wow, yeah. Or you speak to a small animal, hey, what's going on? Basically, that's falsetto. But falsetto can also be strong too. It can be, it can be that as well. But that's still falsetto. It's just louder and stronger, okay? So basically, you've really only got those two techniques or registers, as they're really called, vocal registers, chest voice, falsetto. They're the real ones you're really going to train. And you might be thinking, okay, well, what about these other things I've heard about? What about head voice, mixed voice? All of those things are included in chest voice and falsetto, and I'm going to explain. So firstly, let's talk about mixed voice. Mixed voice is the big thing that you're going to see on the internet. You're going to see like, oh, the secret to the high range is mixed voice. The reason why you're straining in chest voice is because you're trying to take chest voice too high, and you've got to find your mixed voice. I'm going to say this. Mixed voice is a really well-developed chest voice, okay? Now, why do I say that? Because at first, you're going to feel like your chest voice sucks. You're going to feel like you hit a wall. And you get stuck, you strain. You got this thing called a vocal break. A vocal break is that area where you feel like your chest voice just hits a wall and jams up. And then you have to and flip to falsetto to go higher. That's a vocal break. And everyone on the internet is going to say things like, oh, well, you got to try to smooth the vocal break and transition into, they're either going to say your mixed voice or your head voice. They'll say those two. But let's just talk about mixed voice first. As you develop your chest voice more, you're going to get your chest voice to the point where it doesn't get stuck. It doesn't jam. And you can just take it really high, and you can do it loud, you can do it medium, you can do it softly, and you can just go all the way up to your high range without a break or anything like that. Once you can do that, people are going to start telling you that you're in mixed voice. They're going to start saying, hey, you've got a great mixed voice. Well, actually, it's just your chest voice. And you just develop your chest voice. And this is all mixed voice is. The way you get mixed voice is by developing the chest voice and learning how to take it up higher and making sure that it doesn't strain or jam or get stuck or anything. And once you can do that, people will call what you're doing mixed voice. So mixed voice is just a well-developed chest voice that functions really well and could go into the high range, doesn't jam up. Mixed voice is a chest voice, right? And the reason why it's important to differentiate that is because the way you get a mixed voice is by training chest voice. It's not by trying to train some other voice or anything like that. So, okay, so you don't have to find your mix or find some other voice. You just got to learn how to develop the chest voice. Head voice, that's a funny one. Head voice actually has two different definitions depending on who you talk to. And so this is where it gets confusing. The first definition that most people use now, when they say, okay, you go into head voice, they're actually talking about falsetto, right? But they will say they're not talking about falsetto, but they really are. So, they'll go like, chest voice, What I just did there was I went from chest voice to falsetto, okay? People will say, oh, you went from chest voice to head voice. Okay, well then, if that's head voice, what's falsetto then? And then they'll say, well, falsetto is this. It's really weak and airy. But head voice is, it's like clear and bright. Actually, they're both the same sound. It's just one's more developed than the other. So if I go, that's a weak, undeveloped falsetto. And it's a more strongly developed falsetto. people will call that head voice, but really it's still falsetto. Okay. Now, why is it important to differentiate that? Well, if somebody says go to head voice and they say it's not falsetto, but it really is falsetto, then it confuses you because it makes you look for this other voice that doesn't exist, right? So really what I'm doing there, I'm going from chest voice to falsetto, and the falsetto is just nicely developed. It's just developed really well and strong. It's still falsetto. Now, this is where it gets a little bit frustrating. Sorry, I'm out of focus here. Is that some people will say, oh, well, you know, if you keep going from chest voice to head voice, it will build your mixed voice. This won't happen. Okay, if you it will not build like it won't. That won't become chest voice. Okay, that won't become it won't become chest voice. All right. So that falsetto is falsetto, chest voice is chest voice. Now, it doesn't mean that falsetto is not usable or helpful. It can be, but it won't somehow like grow into chest voice. All right. So that's that. You know, you got your chest voice, which is the same as mixed voice. You've got head voice, which is the same as falsetto. Now, there is another definition of head voice out there, and that is actually a different, it's not falsetto, it's this. So what am I doing there? Well, I'm taking my chest voice up. Some people would say I'm going in the mixed voice, and then some old school people would say you're going in the head voice. Now, we just talked about head voice being falsetto. Well, there's another definition of a head voice where they're actually saying when you stay in chest voice and go high, they call that head voice. Are you getting confused yet? That's why I don't use these terms, okay? So, because it's confusing. So, when you take your chest voice up, like what I just did there, and it doesn't strain, doesn't get jammed up, they're going to call that either mixed voice or they're going to say it's connected head voice, one of those things. So, let's just get rid of all of that stuff. What I really did was I took my chest voice up, it didn't strain, didn't get stuck. That's really what I did. I didn't go to a different voice. Chest voice, and we got falsetto. And so those are the real terms that I want to really get across to you. If you want to learn more, click the link down below in the description.